Welcome to Mixtapes and Tasty Cakes podcast. I'm Bert Lepore. He's Damian Montecarlo. We're hanging here with Angry Mike D, and we talk about music, movies, and so much more.
All right, we're back. Another episode, Mixtapes and Tasty Cakes, episode 26. Last episode, we were in the 80s. It was a review of the 80s. This one, we're jumping in the 90s. And I realized that this year being 2021, 30 years ago, which is crazy to even think about, was 1991. And that was, thought it was a pretty pivotal year in music. You know, we all agreed it was a big, a lot of classic albums came out that year, but it was also like a big change. Like, you know, I kind of feel like every decade kind of extends a little bit into the next. Like, you know, like to me, like 1980, 81 is still like kind of set in the 70s a little bit. I think it takes a couple years for things to really kind of change into the next, you know, like 1990 isn't really 1990. To me, it felt like 88, you know, 2001 was still, or 2000 was still kind of like the 90s. So it takes a couple years to transition. So I think like 91, like towards the end of 91 was definitely like a big change musically, like what we were heading into the next decade. And, you know, it was, you know, big transitional year, you know, and, you know, we kind of thought maybe, you know, musical genres could coexist. And that didn't really seem to be the case, you know, a year or two after that. So, but you know, 1991, you had the Gulf War was going on. I think that started it. I don't even think that lasted about a few weeks,
dude.
Like in January.
I remember being in school, and every morning they would have the TV, and they would show like what was going on, kind of deal. I still have no clue. You know what I mean?
Well, it was it was the first time in my life that I remember, like, you know, our country being involved in a war. I mean, I wasn't born when Vietnam was around or none of that stuff, you know, so I was like, holy shit, man, this is what's going to happen. Yeah. But yeah, it was the Gulf War. I remember that was in January. It was like a big January 16th or whatever. That was the day. And then
what was it? Well, everybody waited for that. What was that? Wolf Blitzer.
Yeah.
Remember? Because he was doing all those reports from like live on set and everything or whatever.
Yeah. Live in Kuwait.
Well, that kind of made like CNN and Wolf Blitzer too. That's what sort of like popped them out of nowhere.
Oh, definitely.
That whole Gulf War.
Yeah. Operation Desert Shield. And then it was Operation Desert Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we had that going on. We had, you know, first George Bush was president. The internet. That was the start of the internet, huh, that year?
I think it was like the opening of it. I don't think everybody had it yet, but
yeah.
I think that was definitely the beginning of it.
Yeah, I think like one of my friends had it, and that was about it.
Yeah, I was. I didn't really hear about the internet until maybe a couple years after that. I was like, "What the hell is this?" You know, it was like. But yeah, the internet started that year.
It was what AOL was kind of. There was something before AOL. I forget what it was called.
Yeah,
I Netscape or something, or
no, it was like you don't even hear of it anymore.
Yeah. It's probably something that got merged.
It was all. It was all. It was like all text.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Well, that's when they started the chat room stuff and all that, which I never got into. You know, I never played around with that.
I still don't get into that stuff.
Nah.
Nirvana, they put out. You know, it was sort of like the start of the grunge, and a lot of the stuff. I mean, a lot of that stuff was kind of lingering, I thought, for like a year or two prior, you know, but that was like, that's what really kicked it off. And I was I graduated middle school that year and went right into high school. So what was that, man? Like 13, 14, I think. So 91, 14.
91. I might have been like 18. I might have been just getting ready to get out of school, I think
I was in probably like the 10th grade.
Yeah, that probably sounds about right. If I was in 12th and you were in 10th, or probably that's about right.
Yeah, I graduated Thomas. I went to Southern. I went there for a year, and it was like, man, that was a big culture shock. That school. Man,
you only went for a year there?
I went there for a year and a month, and then I got the hell out of that place.
I graduated from there. But guess
you graduated from Southern?
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't that bad when I graduated. That was when they had that shooting in there. That was that year.
Dude, it was like
it was the year I graduated, so I was kind of like, okay, well, at least I'm heading out of this place.
Remember that movie Lean on Me?
Yeah, is that what it was like?
No, it wasn't nearly as bad, but
man,
coming from like, you're a kid, you're in middle school, elementary school, middle school, it's like the same shit. Then you go to high school. A buddy of mine, he was dealing weed and shit. I was like, whoa, that's like a big thing, in ninth grade. One of the dudes I used to hang out with over selling weed. There was always like fights with the two projects going on, like in the lunchroom, like guys that were like in their 20s would just come in through the freaking school to start fights. It was nuts. Somebody set the bulletin board on fire. It was crazy.
So you got the fuck out.
Yeah, I was like,
where did you go?
I went to Kappa, Creative and Performing Arts. After that,
there you go. You became an artiste.
Dude, it was like, my
God,
it was
like fame.
It was exactly that. You know why, man? You can have, if you had green hair walking around Southern in 1991, 92, oh my God, you would get your ass beat. And Kappa, my God, they embrace you. It's like, it was a total culture shock for me. And
wow.
then when I went to Kappa, it was like, oh my God, this is like the greatest thing ever. Everybody's like, I don't have to worry about anybody saying shit to me,
That's crazy.
Man, I mean, I had a lot of friends in Kappa back in that day, but like, I never had too many problems in Southern at all, really. Like, the problems in Southern derived from me.
Well, I was a little puny kid. I was like real short. I remember I think I grew like 6 inches from 9th to 10th grade. But so when I was in 9th grade, I was like a little, probably like 5 foot or something. It was like a little, shrimp.
Pipsqueak, a scrimp. That's funny.
Yeah,
dude,
I didn't really fit in. I was just, it was.
I went to Catholic school. I went to Newman, but I was fine. I played football and I was a rock guy, so I kind of was like right in the middle. So
right in the middle of it all, yeah.
Yeah, so I was okay. Everybody was cool with me, so I was good. But yeah, so let's hit in the music of 1991. Let's start it off, Dame. We're gonna start off with you. Tesla, Psychotic Supper. What you got?
Yeah, that was like the first album coming out of the 5-man acoustic jam. That was like their big kind of like breakthrough album with signs and everything. And, it came out August of that year, August 30th, 91. It seems like a lot of big albums came out like during that summer, into the fall, and that, he really thought that was going to be like their huge album. And it was, it was platinum.
It did
record.
well. It did well.
It did really well. I mean, but you thought after that, maybe they would continue on, but it was still, and they weren't in all that 80s like call the hair bands. They're just a hard rock band.
Yeah, they were I never considered them a glam band. They were just a straight up
not at all
band. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean they kind of borrowed some elements of it, but as far as they're looking at
but it all does. They're all borrowing elements of Zeppelin and all that stuff here and there,
Yeah, Aerosmith and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mike D, what do you got on Tesla Psychotic Supper? You remember?
You know what? This is probably one of the albums I didn't have, and like I always liked Tesla. I think what was it? Edison's Medicine. I had
that was on there.
That was on that.
Yeah.
So I did have. Okay, the album wasn't. Edison. I'm thinking the album was called Edison's.
No, that was the single. That was the single.
They were going to call. I think that was the
mean,
original name of the album. I think they're originally going to call it that.
So probably not one of their best ones for me, but I always liked Tesla.
They're always good. They're consistent. They're definitely consistent. I think they're always a solid band. Like I said, I said this before on the show that I don't know if they're anybody's favorites, but everybody likes them. It's one of those bands that they just everybody likes them. Jeff Keith has that scratchy, distinctive voice.
They're still around too, I believe.
They still put out stuff.
Yeah.
They actually had a hit song. I don't know how many years ago, but maybe like 7-8 years ago or something. They had a hit song.
They still put out records.
Yeah, they still put out records. They still work. The top tracks, Edison's Medicine, What You Give was another good song. I think this album is really, really good. Yeah, That's a good one. This sounds really good. I don't think it was as good as the Great Radio Controversy, which was the studio record before this one, but it was still good. It was definitely still good. Yeah, they're
peaked at number 13. Peaked at 13. Peaked at 13 on the Billboard charts.
Yeah, so it did well.
Yeah.
I mean, and the 5-man acoustic jam album, I mean, that was a breakthrough. Everybody started doing unplugged stuff after that.
Yeah.
You didn't see it much before that.
No, you didn't.
So, Tesla Psychotic Supper definitely should hit the list. I think it definitely makes this list. All right, let's go on to the next one. Temple of the Dog, Damo. What you remember?
I don't remember too much about it. I mean, I remember the song, Hunger Strike was played all the time. And I was just like confused. Like, what is this band? It's, you got Pearl Jam guys and Soundgarden, but they had their own band. I just didn't really know what it was about. And, I knew it was like a tribute to,
Andrew Wood.
Andrew Wood from Mother Love Bone. And I really didn't even know who Mother Love Bone was at the time, but I guess if you're a part of, of that scene, it was like, a big deal. But I remember that song was, always, that video was always on MTV. I actually did like it, even though I'm not a fan of Eddie Vedder,
right?
His voice, but I kind of liked his, his part in the song. It was kind of like
he complimented Cornell well.
Yeah, hunger. But yeah, it was good.
Mike D, what you got? What you remember this one?
Yeah, I mean, I like that song a lot. And back in the day, I never bought it. Like, it wasn't really, it was kind of like too chill for me back then. Like, I wanted something heavy back then. Yeah, but it wasn't until like years later I actually listened to it. I'm like, wow, this is just really a good album.
It
definitely fits in with everything, but definitely something you have to, for me, I had to mature to it.
Yeah, man. Great record. I mean, it's a super group. It's pretty much the guys in Pearl Jam and Cornell and Matt Cameron from Soundgarden. Right. That's pretty much the band. And like you said, it was a tribute to Andrew Wood, who, Andrew Wood, they were banking on, was going to be a huge star. And, he overdosed, he passed away. And they
like a week after the record came out, I think.
It was quick. I mean, I remember. Yeah. Do you remember the Star Dog Champion song?
Mm-hmm.
That was a cool song.
It's a good album.
But I really think that Pearl Jam would not have been as big with Andrew Wood in it instead of Eddie Vedder. I think Eddie Vedder just made that difference. Something clicked. It was something different,
Even the name would probably. I mean, it doesn't sound like one of those names that's going to last either. Mother Love Bone. I
thought it was a cool name. It was very Seattle.
I mean, yeah, it's a cool name, but it's kind of like, how much is that band going to be pushed with that name? Yeah. Not that it's anything horrible, but
I mean, for me, there's no rock singer that sings with that gut-wrenching feel of Cornell. I mean, there's some great singers out there, but Cornell does both. Cornell can hit the high, he can hit the low, he can hit the scream. He's probably the best all around.
Great range, yeah. That definitely from that, from that era,
Oh yeah, and then like you said, Eddie Vedder complimenting his style. Eddie's got that chill kind of, monotone a little bit style, and with Cornell just going off. I mean, it's a really good record. Hunger Strike was huge. That was a huge song. You got Say Hello to Heavens on it. That was another good song. But for me, it's so good because it's Pearl Jam with Cornell and Cameron. And Cornell's he just shines through the whole thing,
Yeah.
So Temple of the Dog, great record. Definitely huge at that time.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to move on to another one, which is great because a lot of rock guys, almost like we talk about the Sublime thing, a lot of rock guys who don't like softer music, a lot of rock guys like this next guy. Tom Petty, Into the Great Wide Open. What do you got, Damo?
Yeah, this is another one. Came out summer of that year, July. The title track, Into the Great Wide Open, was played all the time. Learning to Fly. My girlfriend plays this all the time. It's like every morning. That's
great.
All these Tom Petty songs, and I know them more now than I did. Back then. But I mean, great record. I mean, it's more on the rock side than the hard rock metal. But I mean, like you said, a lot of guys who are into hard rock, like this stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. He's great. What do you got, Mike?
Yeah, man. Like the funny thing is, I never owned a Tom Petty album, but when I hear Tom Petty, I'm like, man, this stuff is great.
Yeah, the songs.
And, right. It's like it's just got that. What was that Americana feel to it?
Exactly. Yep.
Almost like that Springsteen kind of effect.
Yeah.
But and he's like the storyteller, and yeah, man, Tom Petty, he's definitely kind of an unsung hero back then.
Oh yeah, I mean the video for Into the Great Wide Open had Johnny Depp in it. I remember the video was great.
Oh yeah.
And he was doing that thing where he was starting to make like little movies out of his videos.
He always had good videos. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Full Moon Fever, I think, was the record before that.
Before that, yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing with that. That had some cool ass videos, and I mean Tom Petty, great singer songwriter. Just if you just want to chill and put something in the background, I mean that's perfect. It was produced by him and Jeff Lynne, who also he did the Traveling Wilburys, I think, with Jeff Lynne also.
Yeah, which I loved. I was really into them back then.
It was cool,
really?
Man.
Yeah, which is really weird. Like I remember, like
I never really listened
surprised. What the hell are you listening to that, like that hippie stuff for?
A lot of great guys were in that. Wait, so who'd you have? You have George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Jeff Lynne,
Roy
Orbison.
Yeah.
I mean, that's beyond an all-star band.
Yeah, and in the video, sometimes you would have Ringo Starr play drums.
Well, Orbison died, I think, right after the album came out too.
Yeah, I think he did the video. He did
I think they kind of worked him in it or something. I heard.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, he died shortly after that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I mean, Tom Petty, great singer-songwriter, and listened to this album recently, and the album's good. The whole album's pretty damn good. The songs that stand out are definitely Learning to Fly and Into the Great Wide Open, but the rest of the album's still worth listening to. It's not boring.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Definitely good. Moving on to the next one. Huge record here. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Damo, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, this is came out. I think this came out the same day the Nirvana record came out, September 24th. Actually, it was the same. It was the same day.
Wow.
And did actually, and Use Your Illusion came out the week before. Damn, what a frick! And Metallica came out a month before that. Fucking great! I told you, man. Like
we bought a lot of records that year.
It seems like August, September, like a lot of shit was coming out. But and this one really had it was out like I'm just looking at it when the singles released. The first one, Give It Away, it came out in September of that year, and then Under the Bridge was the second one. That was March. And they were releasing singles up until 1993. So it really
Breaking the Girl, I think was another release. And Suck My Kiss might have been a release.
It was. That was a third. Yes. That was a third single. Sold 7 million records.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was Bridge. Like it was huge. Yeah, and it was. I guess it was part of that funk metal thing that.
Yeah.
But it was definitely the biggest of that genre. The only ones who really,
survived it. Yeah.
Survived
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike D, what you got?
Yeah, man. I have one of those. Remember those old 5-disc changers?
Yeah.
I had one of them. I mean, this CD was probably permanently in there. It didn't move for a very, very long time. So from front to beginning, this album was just great. There wasn't a bad track on it.
No, and there was a lot of songs on it.
I mean, if you're going to sell your soul to Satan, this was the album to do it.
Yeah. It's definitely the pinnacle record for them. It's definitely the record.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they had some success later on, but this was the album that put them out there.
I think Mother's Milk was when they started to get good, and then they got great on Blood Sugar Sex Magic. And then after that, they had a lot of good songs in between, but the Blood Sugar Sex Magic is the record. Mother's Milk was a good beginning to that. Blood Sugar Sex Magic was incredible. And then after that, they had a lot of great songs. But as far as a whole, where I could sit down and listen to the whole thing, there's not a bad song on it.
You know what? No. The thing with them is whenever they put out a new record, you hear the shit. The radio plays the shit out of the new single all the time, and and then it becomes a modern classic. So they're still they're still a relevant band.
Still relevant.
I never really, I really didn't really have any opinion on them. Like I never hated them. I never really loved them. They're just, I appreciate them. I hear a song, I kind of like some of the stuff, but I've never seen them live. Never really wanted to go see them live.
Yeah.
But
me, I never saw them live either.
Yeah.
Like I said, the earlier stuff to me wasn't my thing, but it got really good around Mother's Milk, and then it definitely, blasted away once they came out with the next record.
Yeah.
But the earlier stuff was just like you would see them in movies, like 80s movies, just in the background.
Yeah,
kind of like a
Fuck
punk funk party band,
right?
Yeah, it kind of was too goofy for me in the beginning or something. I don't know. All right, moving on to the next one. Van Halen for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge.
Yeah, this one came out June that year, June 17th, 91. Another summer album. Sold a shitload of records.
A lot of big hits.
Yeah, a lot of them. Pound Cake, Top of the World, right now was I think the biggest one.
Great. The video. The video was
the
so
video
good.
was great video. And then it was like a Pepsi commercial, I think.
Yeah.
It was huge, man. People always talk about Dave, being great and everything, but the Sammy stuff was.
Sammy propelled them to another level. He
did, man. They never had. I don't think any Van Halen records with Dave ever went to number one. Maybe 1984, but every Sammy Hagar album went to number one.
Yep.
That's it definitely opened up, the fan base, the wider, the bigger audience. But
absolutely,
and
and Eddie was able to write in different ranges now because Dave could sing. Not Dave, Sammy could sing them.
Right. He had more of a range.
Yeah.
Songwriting range, more inspiration, I guess.
Yeah, and you've seen Eddie kind of played around with the keyboard stuff, and then he really, used it after.
Yeah. Well, he kind of got rid of all the synth stuff on this album, and he went to like regular piano, like what you hear on right now and stuff like that.
Yep. It's got a lot of big songs. Mike D, got anything on this one?
Nah, I wasn't. We talked about this before when we did the Van Halen, but it had a couple of good tracks on this, but I just became sick of it. Just sick of hearing everything.
It was all over. It was played all
I'm
over.
not a Sammy Hagar fan. I even hated looking at him in his stupid Zuba looking pants that he wore.
The Zubas were big. Dude. We like the Zubas.
Yeah, you like the Zubas. I never owned a pair of Zubas.
But right now, as I'm editing the video, I'm putting a red X on Mike.
What's funny is it's funny you mention that because I had a pair. They weren't Zubas, but they were kind of like sort of like a rip off of them. And me and my buddy used to call them. We used to call them Sammy Hagar pants.
They were called Bazoos. They were the Bazoos.
It was like some Modell's brand. Yeah. Dude, it was 1991 because I remember they were like the coolest shit. And I remember I wore that like the first day of school in high school.
Was it Southern? Was your first day at Southern?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. And it was downhill from there wearing those fucking fake me out Zubas. God, what a douchebag.
Awesome.
I just remember that.
How do you wear I would never even try to wear them in school. Dude, you like, I don't know about you, but between class, you especially if you fall asleep, you get that little morning wood. You got to walk out of the class wearing Zubas.
I would wear it proud. I'd be proudly wearing that.
That's the ultimate pitching intent.
But the thing is they're so baggy though.
Yeah. What about this?
They're so baggy. It hides all that.
Dude, I used to wear the biker shorts. You remember the biker shorts?
Oh no, I never owned a pair of them.
I used to wear them all the time.
Horrible. I'm like, dudes wearing biker shorts just look weird.
No,
I wore them all the time.
No,
dude, I had a pair that were black, but on the sides it was like poison green neon.
Oh, I remember them. Yeah,
they were the ones. And then that's what everybody wore.
And then I had a matching spandex shirt. It was black and it was neon on the side.
That's how we did it.
And I was like 10
Oh.
years old. I was like, what does my mother think, dressing her son up like that? 10-year-old kid.
My mother wanted to buy me.
From
I'm like,
Living
no,
Color.
I'm not wearing them things.
I wore them
No.
proud. I wore them proud. I
No.
didn't care.
I'm like, they look ugly. I'm not wearing
Oh
that
my
shit.
God.
Listen, I'll take the biker shorts, the mullet, and a black T-shirt, and I'm good.
I went with the Daisy Dukes in that period.
Oh,
I'm kidding on that one, but no, screw those biker shorts. Horrible style.
they were
Horrible.
big. They were
Horrible
big.
style. I don't care how big they were. What next? Hot pants?
All right, so moving on to the next one, another big album for Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears. Damo, what you got?
Yeah, this one was released the same day as Use Your Illusion, September
Really?
17th. Yeah, this is my favorite Ozzy record,
It's a great record.
and I know it's I'll probably get shot for saying that, but I like
record.
this era better than like the
initial
Randy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably because this is what I grew up on, you know.
Sure.
But I mean, there's a lot of great tunes on this. You know, No More Tears, Mr. Tinker Train, Mama I'm Coming Home, Desire was great. Hellraiser I thought was cool.
That was on it. Road to Nowhere.
Yeah, Road to Nowhere. I mean, it was a lot of great records.
A lot of good songs.
A lot of great songs on this record.
Yeah, it was a great song. It was like what was that Zach's second one, maybe?
Yeah,
Second studio record.
yeah,
Great record. Great record, man.
And some of these songs were written with Lemmy. I'm sure he wrote probably most of the song, but you know, I Don't Want to Change the World.
Hellraiser
Desire,
definitely was because Motorhead did a version of that.
Right. Mom, I'm Coming Home.
Did you ever hear I think it's called, I heard the demo. I don't know if Motorhead ever put it on a record, but it was Lemmy and Ozzy, I ain't a nice guy no more, or something like that. Great song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard that before.
Great song. And I thought maybe that was made for this record and didn't make the cut, but that's a great song.
Right.
What do you got, Mike? Anything on Ozzy, No More Tears?
You know what's funny? I never owned this album, and I liked Ozzy a lot. I think there was just so much good shit coming out back then and that year.
It was
that somehow I passed it, and one of my friends might have bought it, and I copied it off of him or borrowed it off of him. But I never owned that one. And it was a great album.
Great record.
Definitely, you know, propelled Ozzy a little bit more into the mainstream. And, you know, probably parents started fearing just a little bit less at that point.
Yeah. It wasn't like the old scary Ozzy.
Right.
It's like, I mean, it ranks pretty high probably on my Ozzy records. You know, it's like even like I love Blizzard of Oz, but Crazy Train, I mean, that riff's undeniable. It's an incredible riff. But as far as the song goes, the riff makes that song. You know, the rest of the song's okay. It's not really that great, but the guitar works interesting. That the beginning of it is just what sells it for me. But Ozzy was just writing some really good, just pop rock kind of songs during this period. No More Tears was put together well. You have the opening bass line with Mike Inez, which was incredible.
Well, he didn't play on the record though.
Did Bob Daisley play on it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah.
See, Bob Daisley, man.
He played on all
Great
that
writer.
stuff.
Great writer, man.
And you know, and they always have Ozzy, but I don't think Ozzy wrote a song. I think he writes like the melodies and stuff, but he never wrote any of the lyrics. So it was all Bob Daisley wrote all that stuff.
Oh, Bob Daisley's great, man. He's got a book out that I didn't read yet. I would love to read. I'm sure it's got a lot of craziness in there.
I can imagine. I got to check that out.
But he wrote all the earlier stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Because the original Ozzy Osbourne band was supposed to be called Blizzard of Oz or something like that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was supposed to be Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz. I think it was just called Blizzard of Oz was supposed to be the name. And I guess there was a falling out with Bob Daisley more than once, probably 3 or 4 times. And Lee Kerslake was the original drummer. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I always thought Tommy Oldbridge, who was on Diary of a Madman, wasn't. I thought he was the one that played on Diary of a Madman, but I think it was Lee Kerslake that was on there.
He was, yeah. Which
is crazy because it sounds like Oldbridge. I'm thinking, you know, that intro to Diary of a Madman. I'm like, wow, that's got to be Tommy Oldbridge, right? I was sold on it, you know.
So the only album he was on was Bark at the Moon.
I thought Carmen of Peace was on Bark at the Moon. No,
he was in the video.
How crazy! I didn't know that either.
all Ozzy's records were like that. It's like the band you saw in the video was never the band on the record. I think like the Ultimate Sin stuff,
right, with Jake.
I think that one was like the band, you know.
Yeah.
But everything else, like what you saw in the videos, was not the band that recorded.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah,
I always thought it was Carmen Apiece on there.
No, it wasn't him.
Wow, but he was in the Bark at the Moon video, right?
Yeah, and then he left. I don't know, maybe midway through the tour, he got fired.
Wow,
or something, and then they brought Tommy Aldridge back.
Right, he's great, man.
Oh yeah,
he's got a great head of hair.
Mm-hmm. I think like I think they brought him back, or maybe Randy Castillo joined.
Maybe
after that.
Maybe that's who it was.
Man. He's had a million members in that band.
He's always had a good band. Always had a good band. The only guy to know how good he was or not was Phil. Was it Phil Susan? Was that how you say his name?
Well, he was a really good writer too.
Okay, because I didn't know much about him.
Yeah,
and he was with Ozzy for what? 2 records, maybe.
Yeah, a couple records.
2 records.
Ultimate Sin era, I think. Ultimate Sin, and then maybe No Rest for the Wicked.
Yeah, I see. For some reason, why do I think Geezer Butler played on No Rest for the Wicked?
I know he was on the tour. I don't know if he was on the record.
Yeah. That's. I didn't think about that just now. Yeah, man. But Ozzy, No More Tears, great record. It's one of those records now where I'm kind of pissed off with the Ozzy stuff because I'm starting to collect the vinyl stuff, and besides the box set that you can buy, it's just too much money at once. You know.
Yeah.
You could get Blizzard of Oz, you could get Diary of a Madman. I found No Rest for the Wicked, which I couldn't believe I found. I found that like in a used bin for like maybe $20, and I bought it. There wasn't even a question. I just bought it. But I don't think he really re-released anything. Like No More Tears, I'm waiting for, and it's like, when are they going to re-release this stuff?
And you know what? It's probably hard to find the original vinyl because around that time, 91, it was like vinyl was out.
Yeah.
You know,
it's crazy.
CDs were all the rage. You know, that's when pretty much CDs really.
Yeah. Well, for me, I don't even need the original copy. New copy's fine, even if they just repress it now. I'm fine with that, but I can't find it, and I'm not paying $100 or more. You know,
maybe this year they will, since it's 30th anniversary coming up.
You think? Yeah, you think they would definitely. Yeah. The way they usually work with stuff, you think they definitely would have cashed in on it, unless maybe they're sitting on that box thing for a little bit more and waiting to see how that does. But which looks like a great set,
right?
The set looks great, but I don't know what it was. It was like $700-800 or something like that, maybe. Or even if it was $5, it's just too much. You go after 2, it's like, you know.
Jesus Christ.
You know, I'm starting to buy the Kiss ones again. You know, I'm starting to rebuy the Kiss ones. And I don't care about the special, whatever. I just want the cool thing about the new. I know you collect some of the vinyl too. I know Mike started to now. The cool thing with the records are
I hate you for that.
It's unbelievable how heavy the new records are.
Yeah, 180 gram.
Oh my God! You hold the other ones, it's like nothing. You hold this one, it's like it's got guts to it. You know?
Yeah, I like the older records personally. It feels like you're listening to like a part of history or something. You know? Like,
yeah.
I love the crack one and all that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Oh, dude. Moving on to another one that they just put out for a record store day, and I didn't get it because we had all the COVID stuff going on. It was hard to get this record, and I couldn't make it out to pick it up. But now it's like overpriced, I think. But hopefully they'll re-release it again. Skid Row, Slave to the Grind.
Oh, they got this on vinyl now.
On vinyl. Well, it was for record store day. They did like 6 months ago or something like that.
Okay.
And you know, down here, if you go to Repo Records, it doesn't mean they're going to get it. You know, it's like they get what they think are going to sell. They might not, you know, me, you, Donnie, and maybe one other person wants the Skid Row record, you know.
Yeah.
Who knows who else wants it. But, you know, I'll go on to it once it gets to me. But, Dan, what do you got on this record?
Yes, it's another one. Came out summer of that year, June of 91. It was, now Quiet Riot, Metal Health was the first metal album to go #1, but in 1991, they started the SoundScan era, which was like legit record sales.
Yep.
So they call that like the SoundScan era, and this was the first metal album to debut at #1 on the SoundScan era. So, but it was, you know, it was Skid Row, like amped up, or like on steroids. It was like, way heavier. It was like, whoa, man. It didn't sound like the same band. I mean, it kind of did, but definitely more. It was definitely them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, way more aggressive. Definitely like them in the 90s. And, to me, it felt like, the album after this, for what it came out like a year or two, instead of like a big long gap.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was like the next album came out like 4 years after this or something. It was like too long. Yeah. Yeah. If it would have came out in 2 years, they probably still would have.
Oh yeah.
Did well and everything. But I mean, it's a killer record. A lot of balls, man.
Yeah. It's a great record. Mike D, what you got on this one?
Yeah. You know what? Their first album just wasn't me. I didn't like it. It wasn't my thing. Maybe a song or two off that I liked. But I couldn't get in Skid Row. And I had a few friends that were, Skid Row, Skid Row, Skid Row. And I forget, I think right before this album came out, I saw them in concert. They were doing songs off of this. And they were opening. I'm trying to think who they were opening for. It might have been Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses, yeah.
So I'm like, wow, man. I was like, these guys are fucking heavy. I'm like, either it's just they're doing it live like this, or when the album comes out, it's just going to be kind of like, a little more on the poser side. But no, when this came out, man, this rocked my ass off. Like, I was surprised how good this album was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. If you ever seen Skid Row live, especially back then, it was like, what? There were so many good bands that they opened up for, and the bands they opened up for were all good. Skid Row, hard act to follow. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. I mean, best opening act ever that I ever seen. As far as, I mean, how do you follow that? I mean, they were energetic, great songs. It was heavy live.
Attitude.
It was just, they went out there, man. They gave it all. I mean, they're one of the best bands I've ever seen live. Just energy wise, it was ridiculous. It was so good. Slave to the Grind is probably their best record, I would say. The first record was good, but it was a little candy, a little poppy, which is fine. But they matured so much into that second record that it was just like, and they didn't do the thing. Most bands, heavy bands, I'll go heavy, and then they get a little lighter as the years go by. Skid Row was the opposite. Skid Row went light, heavy, heavier. Even by the third record, Subhuman Race was like, whoa.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite one.
That's a good one. Record. That's a good one. I like that one. I mean, that third record was just raw, and they did the opposite. Instead of getting lighter, they got heavy.
Yeah, you don't see that too much.
You barely see that.
I remember my friend's brother used to call me a poser all the time. Damien likes all the poser bands. It was me and my buddy. We were into like all that stuff, Poison and Guns N' Roses, whatever, Skid Row, all that stuff. And then one day we're hanging out on his porch, and he's listening to some heavy shit. I was like, "Who is that?" He said, "Oh, it's the new Skid Row record." I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute, Skid Row." You're over there calling me a poser last week, and you're listening to Skid Row, and he was into Slayer and all that shit. Yeah. And he's like, "No, man, they're totally different. It's not Skid Row from a couple years ago."
Yeah,
it's like, damn, man, he was right.
I mean, that record. You have Monkey Business. Oh my God, man, that song.
Monkey Kicker, Business, I like.
Mud Kicker. Chain Gang. I like that one.
The Threat. Get the fuck out.
Right. Get the fuck out was on the original pressing, right?
Yeah.
Guess what, man? That must be a good one to pick up on vinyl. That album.
I can't wait. Alone, as soon as listen, if I can get it, I'll get it for $50. I'm not going over 50. I'll get it up to $50.
But like I remember, I forget all this stuff right now, but I remember that album cover was like filled with like little
his father painted
Easter eggs.
Sebastian's father painted that.
It was all Easter eggs from it was like characters from every song, which I thought was really cool. Cool concept, Yeah,
the painting was awesome. The painting was definitely awesome. And what else was on that? You had the slow song.
Quicksand Jesus.
And there was another Waste of Time. Waste of Time.
Yeah,
that album's ridiculous. And then when they had like the censored version, the song "Beggar's Banquet," which I thought was all right.
Beggar's Day.
Beggar's Day. That's a Beggar's Banquet.
Yeah.
Beggar's Day. That was a good song. The way.
I don't remember that one. See, I had the other one.
Me too. I bought it to get back Beggar's Day or whatever.
Yeah.
But
what was it? Fuck You or something was the track, or go
get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great, man. They were on at that time. They were unbelievable. And then I guess the fallout with Sebastian, and then whatever it is. But yeah, man, wow, slave to the grind. And even like you said, subhuman race didn't get a fair shake. Maybe it was just too late, like you said.
Yeah, it came out a little too late. I did love that record, man.
It's a good one.
I didn't like it when it came out, but it really grew on me. Like
Eileen.
Yeah, that's best song Alice in Chains never wrote.
Yeah. I mean, we go on for hours about this record. Yeah. That's how good this record is. And if I get the vinyl, we'll have to talk about it. I'm looking for it. Just not over
let me know
if I'll let you know. I got you on the list and Donnie on the list.
Yeah, I got the first one on vinyl.
I don't have that one. That one you could get.
Yeah,
that one you could get. I had, of course, I actually had that on vinyl back in the day. I have no clue what happened to my old vinyl. I think I got rid of everything except for the Kiss ones. Yeah, which I got drawings all over them.
Yeah, I had a bunch of them. I think I loaned them to a friend and never gave them back to me or something.
But dude, Tabilio was cleaning out some of the stuff, and he just gave me a bunch of vinyl he had laying around the house. There's some crazy ones in there. Well, there were some cool ones. There was some Journey. There was some There was the Winger record, the first Winger record, which was cool. Then there was like some crazy stuff like Virgin Steel, and I'm like, Virgin Steel. We listened to it. We were like, it was okay, but I'm like, why did he buy this?
The album cover is great. It was
it was crazy. It's like this barbarian guy holding the sword. It's like,
is it what Steve calls idiot metal?
Probably, yes. That's a Steve line. Idiot metal, yeah.
Idiot.
You're wearing the jacket like an idiot metal guy. I'm like, yeah, that's it.
Idiot metal.
That's his line, man. That's his line. Moving on to the next one. Soundgarden, Bad Motor Finger. What do you got there, Damo?
Man, September 24th. That's the same day. It's another big dude. Fucking all those albums came out September 24th. Wow. Same day as the Pearl Jam record. It's like it's like Hiroshima, or not Hiroshima. Wow. It's like Pearl Harbor. It's like, okay, we're gonna go bomb, dude. We're gonna attack on this day. Right?
The crazy thing about that is, when the Bad Motor Finger and all that came out, I was working at Strawberries Records uptown.
Oh yeah.
So I worked at the record store when all this was happening.
Wow. So you saw,
yeah, crazy. So when Bad Motor Finger came out, dude, it was like, I remember the guy that was managing the store was like, "This is the record. This is the record." That and the Pearl Jam record. This is the record.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, Dave. Yep.
Yeah, it's I didn't really get into them until after. When this stuff came out, I immediately hated it just because it was like something like it was just like taking over everything that I loved. It's like so it was like I had to hate it. I didn't really give it a chance. But then a year or two after that, I started them I liked. It was like them and Alice in Chains. To me, it just seemed like an extension of like a new Black Sabbath.
They sound like metal bands to me.
It was a metal band. It was like
they just labeled it.
Yeah, it was like, to me, it was like sludge metal, if anything. It was like
Black Sabbath. It's kind of like Sabbath. Black Sabbath-y.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how they say, like, they put the grunge thing. They're like, Soundgarden, Nirvana. Now, to me, it's totally two different things.
They all sound different. Yeah.
It's weird. I think it wasn't so much the sound of the music. I think it was the look, the kind of like, kind of more instead of, the 80s band, suck me, fuck me, party rock kind of stuff. We're out for a good time. This was more like, I got problems and I'm kind of down, and I get it, So it was kind of like, that was the difference. So I think it was more of a movement kind of deal than it was.
And a mood and everything.
They just labeled it grunge, but it's like, I don't know. What's grunge music? It's more of a look to me than, I don't know.
Well, that's the same thing when people say hair metal. It's like, what does that mean? I mean,
because they had hair.
Every band from like the Beatles up until that point had long hair. So is Led Zeppelin a hair band?
Well,
what does that mean?
Yeah.
I think I look at hair band like, the term is like, these guys are worried about their hair. Like there's the hairspray.
I mean, or maybe the guys that dressed in the makeup and all. I don't know, but
right,
exactly.
Yeah, but the hairspray shit. Yeah, that's the hair bands.
Yeah, but the thing is critics came up with that description as like a derogatory term. Oh, hair band. So now everybody throws it. I see these kids. Oh man, they're my favorite hair metal band. Or it's like I used to get pissed off. I don't really give a shit now, but I rather call like 80s hard rock, the 80s hard rock bands. It's like
at the end of the day, it's all music.
I think I never heard the term hair band till later on. Like we used to call them either like glam bands or poser bands. So
right. Glam metal, we call pop metal.
Pop metal was like now it's later. I never like used that term probably until maybe 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Pop metal. But like, I mean, I guess, even glam was kind of like a derogatory back then for those type of bands, or maybe, I don't know.
Well, glam, I mean, it's just so many different glam rock, shock rock. There's a whole different, it's so hard to break it all down. To me, it's at the end of the day, to me, it's good or bad music, Right. I mean, when you got everybody kind of, I see what they're saying with the 80s thing but it happens in every genre. It's not just the 80s stuff where everybody starts to look that way and and that's because the record companies, the cookie, you got to look a certain way. You got to, Meatloaf wouldn't have been big in the 80s if he did, glam sounding stuff. It just wouldn't work because they were selling you an image. Mm-hmm. The music was secondary. They were selling you that image. Yeah.
I mean, you get a few. I just read this book. It was about the whole 80s hard rock scene. You get the originators. You get like a half a dozen originators, and then it's like a tree with branches, and it just spews like a bunch of different imitators. And you can't blame the bands, really. They're just playing. It's the labels that are chasing after everything,
dude, and even just being influenced by stuff. If I mean, okay, we've been doing music for a long time. My first stuff when I started doing it was I tried to sound like Bon Jovi. I tried to sound like, I don't know, like I had an accent when I sang, Now a lot of stuff that we write, it's Alice in Chainsy. It's, it's just what you like and you get influenced by it. And it's not that you're trying to even sound cookie cutter sometimes. It's just that's what you're hearing in your head now from being influenced. But once the label gets in, oh, you got to wear this, and you got to lose 20 pounds, and you got to wear the G-string, and you got to, then it gets to the, look, nobody wants to look like shit. You want to look like something, but it doesn't mean it needs to be cookie cutter. Then you can't derive what's different from anything.
Right.
You got to have something that stands out. You can't have 20 bands that all look like, transvestites. It's going to go away. You're going to get lost in the shuffle. If you have one band that has that, it's their own thing, it's tough. Right. It's really a tough thing because you're selling, besides selling the music, you're selling the look, because the first thing you see, if you don't hear it, is the visual. And I'm a sucker for that. My favorite band, Kiss, it was the visual. I don't know what they sound like. I don't know what everybody was Kiss to me at the time when I heard music. It's just they sell you on the first Poison record. I thought they were broads. I didn't know. You read the back of the record, you're like, oh shit, they're dudes. You know what I mean? But you don't know. You get sold on the visual. And same thing when you used to buy records back in the day. It was the visual. I bought records not because I knew who they were, because, wow, look at that album cover.
Yeah.
I bought Iron Maiden because the album cover. I never even heard a note of them,
Yeah.
Mike D, what do you got on Soundgarden?
Yeah, man, it took me a little bit to get into these guys. And again, wow, back to back, I'm going to say I didn't like these guys until I saw them open up for Guns N' Roses.
That was late. That was pretty late. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was their surprise concert in Philly. I'm almost sure it was that one.
That was probably this tour. That was probably the Bad Motorfinger tour.
Yeah, because
wow.
And dude, they just freaking rocked, man. They just came out and they were heavy too. It's like,
oh yeah.
And I was like, I went out I think the next day, and I think I bought that album.
Yeah,
No, I'm just, but yeah, it's like I've liked them since then.
I seen them. I heard of Soundgarden before, and I seen them open up for Danzig at the Trocadero. That's how long ago. That's how long ago it was. And it was I guess they were supporting Louder Than Love, And I just remember
The
the
album
one
before
song.
this. Yeah.
I just remember one song that I know what to do. Like that was the song I remember.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they just got that Ben Shepherd guy in the band or not, because I know for Bad Motorfinger they got the new bass player, which I guess made a big difference with them. And once this record came out, like I said, I was just working at the record store, and Outshine, no denying. I mean, just that riff, wow. And it had the Sabbathy thing where he's kind of singing along with the way the guitar moves. Like I am Iron Man. The same.
Same following the guitar line.
Following the guitar, but it was so cool, and his voice was just ridiculous. First song I heard from that record though was probably Jesus Christ Pose.
That's a cool tune.
That might have been the first video. Tune. That might have been the first video.
Yeah, it was on Headbangers.
It was.
I remember they used to always play like a clip. They used to play like a snippet of that song when they would go to a commercial or something. Remember that?
yeah. Headbangers Ball was the first time that I seen the video. Yeah. And I mean, that record's still great. The big debate is, and we might have talked about this not too long ago. The big debate is what's better, Bad Motorfinger or Super Unknown. That might be an album battle in the future. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I was just ready to say I don't really like anything from after this.
Really?
Yeah.
No Black Hole Sun or nothing like that? No.
Nah, man. To me, it was like Motley Crue after Shout at the Devil or something. You know what I mean? it was just like a totally different. Like they just changed to me.
They did, but I think they were just such good songwriters. Like you didn't, at least me, I didn't notice how much they changed. So
yeah.
I think by the third record, maybe Down the Upside, I thought it wasn't as good as the two prior before.
I didn't like that at first, but I mean, if you give it another chance, I think you might like it.
I mean, the guy's vocals are great. I mean, his vocals are great.
Yeah,
they really are. Okay, moving on to the next one. Pearl Jam. What you got, Damo? Even though I know you're not a big Pearl Jam.
I know you're a huge Pearl Jam fan. I see the Pearl Jam posters behind you.
Eddie Vedder fan club.
The Eddie Vedder platinum albums and
Mr. Veeder.
I borrowed this from Frankie Meatball back in like '93, a couple years after it came out. So Frank, you got that Pearl Jam tape? Let me borrow it. I want to see if I can get into it. Did not. I fucking hated it.
Really?
And then just today, I said, let me listen to it on much more mature ears, like 30, almost 30 years later. And I still hate it. It's just the sound of it. There's the sound of the record is all just like, I don't know, like shitty reverb, and his voice is just really annoying, man. But look, it doesn't suck. I'm not saying it sucks. It's just it's just not my thing. And I get why they're, people love them and everything, but I don't know, man. It's just not for me.
Right.
But they're one of the first bands that, like, look at the song titles, all one word. Once,
totally.
Yeah. Alive, Black, Jeremy, Oceans, Porch, Garden, Deep.
I did that on purpose.
Absolutely.
I do like that song, Black. I will say that. I always did like that.
That's a good
song. But that's all I got.
Not a big Pearl Jam guy. Mike B.
Yeah, man, I had this album. I mean, I like this album a lot. And the strange thing is I probably shouldn't have. And I'm not the hugest Pearl Jam fan in the world, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of like them. They kind of, I don't know. It's just, they're consistent. They're what they do. But this album was huge. It was huge back in the day. And with the album cover, it probably shouldn't have been. It was just a very bad album cover. Let's all just sit there and
weird album cover.
Yeah, but
it's like all down like this.
Yeah,
they had a very mature sound for a young band.
It was the change. It was the change of the vocals. That deep vocal thing made a change. In a way, it was a good change. But
that's what. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I was like, at that point, I was getting sick of all those bands with the all and everything, So this was kind of like, okay, let's get into something here.
Well, that's the one thing I noticed when I listened to it again today. I was like, holy shit, man. If everybody today like, man, they just all sound like this guy. Like,
Yeah.
that's how influential it you know, that's what I realized, how influential he is, you know, and the band is really, I mean, the guitar, the music to me, it's just kind of vanilla. There's nothing really,
Right.
it's just like rock to me, but the vocals and melodies, that's really like the big thing with this band. And like everybody fucking, all those bands that came out, dude, all the Nickelbacks, the Creeds, you know, the first Stone Temple Pilots record is all.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what Eddie Vedder all over. I mean, and even like newer bands like that have come out in the past 5-10 years, you can hear the influence. You know,
Yeah,
you just can't deny it.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. I think I'm not a huge Pearl Jam guy. I like songs, but this record was a perfect record. I mean, this is one I would buy on vinyl. It's a perfect. If you're gonna have one Pearl Jam record, this is it. After that, it was songs for me. You know, I could see why, you know, they played them so much. I could see where they're here gets annoying after a while.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, this one, maybe Vitology.
Vitology's got a lot of good songs on it.
Yeah. It's the one after that one, right?
The third one. That's the third one.
Okay. What's the one
second
after?
one was Versus.
Okay. Right.
Don't call me daughter. You know, that kind of stuff, you know.
After Vitology, I start to get lost on the orders.
It's not that the stuff's bad. I think Pearl Jam's a really good band. 10 being their best record for me. And then there's good songs after that. But Dane hit it right on the nail when he said kind of vanilla after a while. Kind of vanilla.
Yeah. I mean, musically, take the vocals out of it, right? Musically, it's just I don't know. Just nothing really interesting. And nothing really it could be any band, you know. To me, it's just nothing interesting going on.
It's the vocal and the melody.
It's all that. Yeah.
You know, it was a change. When Even Flow came out, man, it was like, wow, what's this? You know? And he was, you know, he was vibrant. He was different. He had something, like I said, he's not one of my favorite singers, but like you said, he was influential. He made a change. He made a difference somewhere, you know?
Yeah,
definitely made a difference.
It's almost like he made it acceptable for people not, you know, like Mike said, like he made it acceptable for singers not to have to sing in like a super high Axl Rose type range, you know? Like, you know, it's like almost like, okay, I don't have the ability to sing like Axl Rose or Bruce Dickinson or whatever, but I can sing like an Eddie Vedder. So
right.
I guess it kind of gave hope to the young Scott Stapp.
Dude, even like the stuff that I do, it was the best thing that ever happened for me. Was Scott Weiland and Ling Stanley, and even not that I sound anything like him, but even the Eddie Vedder thing, because I didn't have to sing like my balls were in a vice grip. You know, I mean, some guys have that natural sound. I don't have that. I'm faking it. You know,
right? Yeah.
So I don't have to. You don't have to try and sound like whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? But if you could do that, awesome. Do whatever works for you. You know, whatever is your wheelhouse is what you should go to. Okay, moving on. Metallica, the Black Album. What you got, Damo?
Yeah, this was a hugely anticipated record. I thought, you know, not one. The Justice for All, you know, from the one video, it was like the first video. It was like really exposing to a big, you know, wider audience. And then when this came out, Enter Sandman, I think the video came out like a month before this one. It was just like, it was way different. But dude, people love it. I think it's one debuted at number one, and it's just, I mean, I think a lot of the original Metallica fans hated on it,
right?
You know, but there's no denying that it's an incredible record. I mean, it's just the sound of it just sounds so
Bob
heavy.
Rock, man, Bob Rock.
Yeah, great production. It's, you know, it's a classic album. I mean, no denying it. You know, when it came out, I was one of those guys that were like, "Oh, this sucks," but really, in the back of my head, I really did secretly love it. but now I don't give a shit. I'll say it's
right.
Clearly, I think their best record, and even some of the stuff that you don't even hear about, like The God That Failed and
Great song.
My Friend in
Yeah.
Misery and Through
Of
the
Wolf of
Never,
Man.
stuff like that. Of Wolf of Man, like
Yeah.
the songs that weren't like hits.
Dude, you
are
know
great.
what
The
was
Struggle
great?
Within, you know?
You know what was great? I think it was the beginning, and I love it because Lars uses it a lot now. It was the beginning of that drum thing, that he that little drum thing. I love it, dude.
It's just
You know what I'm
simple
talking
shit.
about, right?
Yeah.
He uses it a lot. It's like his thing, I think. You know.
Yeah.
I love it, and and a lot of people shit on Lars. Guess what? Lars is great. I still love Lars.
Yeah.
You know
Lars
what,
is
man?
great.
It's like he does. If you want a guy that just plays drums, you can find a million of those. If you want to find somebody who's a writer, who arranges, who does, creative director, if you want to call it that. I mean, he's like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
He does more than just play drums. I mean, people shit on him all the time, but they would not be nearly as big as they are. And they're like probably one of the top 5 musical groups in the world.
Yep.
Not just metal, rock, musical groups,
Yeah.
And that they wouldn't be without him,
I agree, man. Mike D, what you got on Metallica?
Yeah, I mean, I got into them during Injustice, which to me is my favorite album by them.
Me too, yeah.
But when this came out, man, there's no denying how great this album was. And the only disappointing thing to me with this album is I know the next album is just going to be a bunch of shit. And I was right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they got back in the form a few albums after that. I mean, they're a great band, and this album was just a masterpiece.
Yeah, man. I say it all the time. Biggest band in the world. Worldwide, Maiden. Biggest metal band ever, Metallica.
Yeah.
It's there's no denying it. Even the bout, Nothing Else Matters. What a great song.
Mm-hmm.
Forget even who's doing it. Just a great song. Enter Sandman.
But,
I mean, we heard it so much. It's like, we just heard it so much, but still no denying how great of a song that is.
The arrangement of that song is so good too. That's
So
like
good, man.
Yeah.
So good. Mike, what you got?
I mean, how many albums before? I mean, they put out 3 or 4 albums before they even put a video out.
Yeah.
No radio
Record.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, you had
tape trading back in the day. I was
Right,
part
I
of
mean,
that. Like, I remember tape trading.
They could have got exposure to Headbangers Ball, and they just did everything without. They went against the grain almost.
Dude, that's why. If you look at, and I don't know if we talked about this before, that's why everybody was shitting on them with the Napster thing. The big thing with the Napster thing was Metallica was one of the few bands that owned the rights to their stuff. Most of the times when bands get signed, hey, Bert and Dame, we're going to sign into so-and-so. We're going to get, 50% of the publishing. Publishing is where the money's at. It's not singing and recording the song. Publishing is where the money's at.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean,
Metallica never gave up their rights.
No.
That's
here's the thing with
that's why they were
Napster.
so gung-ho against that, which they should be.
Here's the thing with Napster, though. You're going to reach an audience that normally probably wouldn't buy it.
Metallica
You're
don't need it.
They don't need it. But here's the thing, though. You eventually start buying their albums because you want them.
As an artist,
you go
I
to
agree
their
with
concerts. In a certain sense, absolutely, they're right. But it has its pros and cons in Napster. So
I think for young bands, sure. I think for multi-million-dollar big bands, they don't need it.
How many times do you guys remember like downloading something off of Napster? You think it's we'll talk about Metallica. It'll be like Metallica, like unreleased track or whatever. You download it and it's like some totally different band.
Yeah.
it's like a rap song or something.
Yeah, all the time. You got rickrolled somehow.
I remember downloading like Bon Jovi Cats in the Cradle, and it was Ugly Kid Joe Cats in the Cradle.
Right, you're right.
Like
they just named it Bon Jovi.
Yeah, I was
a
like,
mess.
I don't know. It sounds like Bon Jovi. I'm gonna write Bon Jovi on the track.
Dude, I have a song that I got back in the day, and I don't even know who did it, but it said typo negative, hit me baby one more time, like the Britney Spears song. I got it somewhere. I don't think it's typo negative, but it sounds like them.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think it was them. But it's the same thing you're saying. You download, you think that's because it sounds like it,
Yeah.
But yeah, Metallica, the Black Album, no denying it, unbelievable. Okay, moving on to the next one, GNR, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. What do you got, Damo?
2 albums released in one day, man. It's unbelievable. And both of them went number 1 and 2.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Came out September 17th, 91. Another one, like the Metallica record, there's huge anticipation for this. I mean, they put out Lies, 3 years before that, but that was sort of like, just
EP.
like,
hold you over.
EP, just to hold you over, for your appetite or whatever. But Appetite for Destruction.
There you go.
But I mean, we did the whole special on these 2 records. I mean, they're both, you can make one record, one dream record like we did.
Yep.
You could do, even the 2, even like the throwaway tracks are great. I mean, it's just classic release. I mean, they're touring on these records 30 years later.
Yeah,
playing stuff from those first 3 records. That's how strong it is,
Yep. And they were so big, they were doing stadiums back then.
Yeah, back then.
Then the Metallica,
crazy.
Then the Metallica were doing that stadium tour. Remember that?
Yeah, and they wanted Nirvana to open up.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
How crazy is that? And Nirvana wasn't going for it.
Nah. Kurt didn't like Axl, and Axl was a big fan. And then, but I guess they didn't.
They were too cool to play with Axl at the time.
Their beliefs didn't.
See, dude, that's the problem I have with a lot of guys that are into that stuff. It's like, and they're young, so I get it. Like, you're poking fun at something because you think you're too cool for it, but at the same time, you're being the same asshole in reverse. You know what I'm saying? That drives me nuts.
Right. Well, if they would have stuck around a few years after that, they would have been the same way.
No way.
They would have.
You're right. They would have followed some trend or something like that, because that's what happens. It's nature.
Yeah.
The only band that don't do that is Slayer and AC/DC.
That's right. That's the only 2.
That's it. Slayer and AC/DC, you get what you get. Here it goes. Well, Stray, maybe that much, and throw in something different for a second, and that's it. You get what you get.
Right.
Mike D, what you got on Use Your Illusions?
Yeah, man. I mean, we just kind of covered these a bit. Well, we did the what was it, the album war on the 2 of them.
Yep.
But yeah, man. I mean, these were back then. I guess I was a little more naive and thinking these albums are probably better than they were.
Right.
But when I went to school, man, I had one tape with 1, another tape with 2.
Right.
So during that day, I'd listen to both of them.
Yep. I mean, they were huge.
Yeah.
2 used records would have been one great record, but there's no denying how big Guns N' Roses was, and still are after all these 30 years later.
Yeah, it's just a shame that Chinese Democracy.
I love that record. I'll argue that record till the day I die. I love that record.
Oh my God!
I like some songs on it, but yeah, it's.
I didn't know if I was listening to Axl Rose or somebody that was trying to be Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
I hated every bit of that album. Hated it.
Yeah, there's some
I liked
Mariah
it. I
Carey.
really liked it. I liked that record, but yeah, the Guns N' Roses. I mean, both of them were really good. I thought, like you said, we covered this before. Could have made one great album, but there's no denying they went from a real street kind of sounded band to a band that wrote epic songs. I mean, everything was bigger than life. I think Axl had this picture where it was just everything was like a movie, And if Chinese Democracy came out 2 years after, it might have been huge. It was just way too long.
Yeah.
He's
like a, I don't know, like a mad scientist, a crazed genius. He's just like his own worst enemy. I think now he's kind of tamed and
Yeah, well, you're not. I mean, it's vinegar like you were back in the day,
right? Yeah, I mean, it's evident. I mean, the tour, he shows up on time. He's not saying "fuck you" and jumping into the crowd and beating the shit out of people.
Yeah, next he'll be doing a fucking do-what with Bieber.
You're right. Yeah.
Hey,
well, he's on a Scooby-Doo cartoon now. It's like, when people shit on him now, it's like, dude,
guess what though? And I'm down with Scooby-Doo. If you're a guest on Scooby-Doo, I'm down.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm not going to shit on that. But it bothers me when people shit on the guy. It's like, dude, he's not like. It's like people change, man. They get old. It's like,
yeah, you grow
give
up.
the guy a break, man. It's like,
But I will say I respected the fact that he sticks to what he says pretty much. You know what I mean? You get what you get. He don't. I don't think he bullshits around. You know?
Yeah.
You get what you get. Moving on to the last one on the list, Nirvana. Nevermind. What do you got, Demo?
Yes. I mean, this is the one. This is. Come on, man. I mean, all the other bands. You know, his other counterparts from his city, Seattle. You know, they put out great albums, but you got to really hand it to this guy. He's the one who kind of like really
changed the industry, probably.
Yeah, he was different than the other ones. You know, it's like you know.
Yeah, he was the one to really rip off the Pixies. But.
Totally, yeah.
But you know, I didn't like them when they came out, but secretly I would tape their videos and MTV, and I kind of did, but I didn't want to tell nobody. It was like I wanted to put on this pissed off metalhead front, you know. But I probably liked them more than I did the other bands, you know.
Right.
And I liked the punk energy. I liked the attitude. The songs were catchy. They're super simple.
Yeah.
It was definitely different, and they sounded way different than all the other bands that came out, even from that scene, you know, that were huge. You know, I mean, there's other bands like, you know, the Melvins and all those bands that were kind of closer to them, but as far as like the huge bands, I mean, they're sort of totally different, man. You know.
I agree. I agree. Mike D, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, when this came out, I didn't know the Pixies, but you just hear that. What was that? It smells like Teen Spirit. That and that just hooks you right in, right there.
Yeah, yeah.
It was different from everything out there. It was heavy, and at the same time, you're just like scratching your head about it. It had a disturbing feeling to it. It was a great album.
It was poppy, melancholy, and hooky at the same time. I don't know. It's
it was its own like kind of.
It was its own thing. But for me, what sold me on Nirvana, and I like them way more now than I did when they first came out. I thought they were good when they first came out, but I like them a lot more now. Is the drums in Teen Spirit? There's something about them.
I mean, it's Dave Grohl.
Yeah,
it
is Dave Grohl.
It's Dave Grohl.
It's a lot of energy.
It's just the drums. The drums made me like that song.
Mm-hmm.
It was the drums, you know, and you know, goes back to like we say all the time in bands. If you don't have a good drummer, good rhythm section, I don't give a fuck how good the guitar player or singer is. It's all about the rhythm section. That's what makes a band. If you have a bad drummer, band's not good.
Right.
It's the way it is.